Hello, welcome to this talk, which is about IoT and device management protocols and how everything is falling in place together in your application and why taking a look at CoAP and Lightweight M2M for your next application is a good idea. So first, I'm a software engineer at Sierra Wireless. My main job is to implement various M2M device management protocol for the AirVantage cloud service, which is a platform for connecting the devices Sierra Wireless is manufacturing. Is basically Sierra is a wireless modem manufacturer. And I'm also an open source guy. I'm a member of the Apache Foundation and also an Eclipse committer on Californium and Wakama. I will explain what is Californium and Wakama later. So the agenda. So again, IoT protocols. I won't speak a lot about MQTT because Christian made a good presentation of MQTT. I will speak more about CoAP and also a bit of XMPP. I will try to explain you what is device management. It's maybe less obvious than the other IoT protocols, and present you different standards of the device management, and give you an idea of how to put everything together in your solution. So, well, IoT, I think you have a good idea of what is it, but I'm talking about IoT and machine-to-machine. For me, the same thing is connecting a lot of devices in the cloud for solving a business problem, like connected washing machine. So first, you have versatile protocols for building application. So you have, well, usually you hear about MQTT, CoAP, and XMPP. So XMPP, maybe you know XMPP. In a previous life, it was a chat protocol. It's based on XML. They started to think connecting things, it's like chatting, and since they have a lot of infrastructure for rules for security and defining what is topics and chat rooms, they started to recycle it for IoT. There is a lot of standards they produce around IoT today. It's based on XML, so, well, it's quite complicated. I'm not using it because of the complexity, so it's good to know it's existing, and you can take a look at the different specification if you want. MQTT, I won't speak a lot about MQTT. I'm a big fan of MQTT because it's a very simple protocol. On the client side, it's basically just sockets and sending few messages. Sometimes it's hard to see the value of MQTT from the embedded GUIs perspective, but on the server it's simplifying your application because you are connecting everything to your broker. So you have one point to have everything, all the information. It's very good for building an application, and you can make a prototype in one day. It's very easy, it's very good. But you need to think you are going to connect a large fleet of devices on one MQTT broker. And it can be very difficult from the server-side point. And you will see in CoAP is very different. It's not so easy, but it's not so centralized. And also the content is agnostic. So if you take an object, like this robot, you try to make it talk with some other object, there is good chance they don't use the same topics, but that's not a big deal, but it's the same content. maybe one is going to use JSON, another one XML, another one binary content. So it's not MQTT problem, but it's your. So Pao, well, you know about it now. There is a new project called Mocket. It's a Java broker. It's under proposal phase, no? Yes. But what is nice is already with WebSocket in, so you don't have to all the trouble you can have with Mosquito for you installing a proxy for using WebSocket. And it's built also for high performance. It's a new project, you can check it. You have also Ponty. Ponty, you already have a good idea, which supports MQTT like a lot of different protocols. And you have Cura. Cura is an embedded framework for developing embedded applications. And it's using MQTT as default transport. So if you want to build an MQTT application, you can take a look at Cura. So CoAP. CoAP is also a versatile protocol for IoT. It's an internet engineering task force standards. It was built for IoT a few years ago. It's still in draft, but the last draft is in draft like for 1 year. But it's the final one, so it's production ready, you can implement it. So first, CoAP means constrained application protocol. So constrained is because it's targeting very low power networks and low power CPU. For example, 8-bit MCU. It's based on UDP. Why on UDP? For running on very low power IP networks like 6LoWPAN, where you simply can't use TCP. And UDP is much simpler to implement than TCP. You don't have all the complexity of TCP about congestion control and reliability. So it's very good for very low power devices. There is 2 levels of QoS. So it's very different of MQTT on this point. You can send a message and say, I don't care if the receiver receive it or not. Or you say, I want to have an acknowledgement, and the acknowledgement will be sent by the receiver. And if you don't receive the acknowledgement, you try to resend the message several times until you decide it's not working. So the goal of CoAP is to run on very low power networks and CPU, but also to bring you a RESTful model for building your application, your things. So the idea is to provide the REST paradigm you use with HTTP and REST API. And so you have nice URI like that. So you have a house with lamps, with the lamps number 7. And I have a status. I can get the status with HTTP-like verbs. And you can also use post, put, delete for mutating a value. You have also content negotiation, exactly like in HTTP. A client sends an accept option and say, I accept this kind of content. And the responders send back a content type, and they are trying to taking care of the accept he received. Basically, the idea is to provide all the web goodies and the web behavior in a very compact binary format. So, well, this is a CoAP packet. So it's binary, it's not like HTTP. And you have message ID for correlating the message with the acknowledgement, and you have tokens for correlating the message with the response. It's optional, the token, if you don't want a response. And in options, you are in binary forms. You are going to put your URI and your different option, a bit like HTTP header, but in binary, with binary codes. And you have a payload. pilot can be whatever you want. You just need to specify the content type if you want. So it's providing also discoverability. You get on this well-known core URI, and you receive a message with a link to the different resources supported by your devices, and with some nice description of the size for the temperature you have Celsius, for if it's a large resource, or if you can observe. I will explain you what is observe later. This format is meant to be used by machine for discovering another machine. So you can make some automatic crawling of a network of devices. So you have a lot of more function. Observe. So observe is for streaming, changing values. Is something not existing in HTTP. You issue a get on a value on a device, and you say, I want to observe this value. Each time the value changes, the device is going to send you back the value. So you can stream changing value from your API. There is also local group communication for using UDP multicast, so you can send a message to multiple devices. You can't use that on plain internet because plain internet is not supporting multicast, but on your local network you can use it. And you also have an HTTP to CoAP proxy, which is providing you the capabilities to connect to a CoAP network and things using good old HTTP, for example, for connecting a mobile application, a bit like WebSocket for MQTT. You also have web-like caching, which can be used for offline device. Devices can talk and go to a low power mode and stop talking, and the HTTP proxy, the CoAP proxy, can provide you a cache, a value from cache. And you also have a resource directory, is a mechanism for all the things talking CoAP to register and to provide a global registry of the supported resources of all your connected things. So basically the idea is that it's a web model for IoT. And when I mean web, you need to think it's very different of MQTT. MQTT, everything connect to MQTT. Here, your things are going to provide a RESTful API for controlling it. So from a server-side point, it's you to connect to the different machine you want to control. So the security. The security is DTLS. So DTLS is SSL TLS like you use on HTTPS, but for datagram. You can use pre-shared key. Pre-shared key is not like you do on HTTPS. Is in place of using a full group of certificate, you pre-share the secret on the things on the server. It's making the implementation of DTLS much simpler. But, well, TLS or DTLS on CoAP or MQTT is the real complexity of your implementation. It's very easy to implement CoAP or MQTT on Arduino, but TLS is quite a challenge. So, project about CoAP at Eclipse IoT. So you have Californium. Californium is the Java library and server for building clients and server for CoAP. It's implementing DTLS. You need to know DTLS is not in Java by default. For TLS, you have SSL engine. It's quite ugly, but it's working. So you have a DTLS implementation Californium and Ponte again. So now, what is device management? So we first see protocol for building applications, sending messages and commands. Device management is when you go to operate your application, you want to manage your fleet of devices, you want to secure it, to monitor, to operate it. So the feature you need is configuring the device, updating the firmware, and maybe your application, if it's not in the firmware. And you need to monitor the connectivity for knowing if the device is running well. So the idea is very different, is to provide an interoperability between the objects. So for example, if you are going to use cellular modems, you don't know exactly which cellular modem you are going to use, but you want to manage it with the standards. You don't want to change your all managing application if you try to change the hardware. So you have different standards, TR069, OMADM, and Lightweight M2M. TR069 is a broadband forum standard. It's a standard for broadband modem, like your DSL modem in your house. Well, it's quite complicated. It's a SOAP API, SOAP API with XML and all the complex stuff. So it's very complex to implement in a device. So I never use it because of that. OMADM is a much more used protocol. It's from the Open Mobile Alliance, which is a consortium of network operators and manufacturer of chip, and it's targeting phones. So if you have a phone, a mobile phone, it's talking OMADM because the network operator use it for managing your phones, like a roaming list and configuration and updating on some old models. So the feature of OMADM are reading, writing, monitoring the nodes, triggering remote commands like software update and firmware update. There is different standards in the OMADM for firmware upgrade and managing the device. Everything is specified. But it's based on HTTP and XML, but binary XML. It's not that complex, but it's can be a problem for very low powered devices. And HTTP is not very good for low power networks. And it's meant to be used for phone. So when you try to use it for machine to machine, it's working, but it's very ugly. For example, each time the device connects to the server, it says, hey, I'm speaking English from England. It makes sense for a phone because there is a lot of feature in OMADM for sending pop-ups and confirmation to the user, but in device to device, it's not very interesting. And a nice feature is sending SMS for wake up and bootstrapping. So if your device is offline, and it's receiving SMS, you can use SMS for wake upping or configuring it for accessing the network. But it's using binary SMS, which can be a problem for people who are not network operator. The security is simply a signature of the HTTP content with changing nonce for avoiding replay with HashMac. It's looking like the IETF HashMac standard, but there is no cryptography, there is no cipher, so nothing is crypted. So if you want a cipher, you need to use HTTPS, which is much more heavier. So that's why the Open Mobile Alliance created a new standard. It's called Lightweight M2M. It's a successor for OMADM with the same feature, but targeting only machine to machine and not phones. So first, it's built on top of Co-op. So it's very lighter. It's much lighter than Home ADM or TR069. The features are quite the same, but only what you need: firmware update, device monitoring and configuration, bootstrapping, provisioning. Bootstrapping and provisioning is when you chip a lot of device. At some point, you just can't pre-configure it in the factory. So you wait for the device to be on the field, and you send SMS and then UDP packets for making the first communication with the device. And for example, provisioning security keys. What is nice is you can use SMS for every operation, for wake-uping the device, but also for sending any lightweight M2M command or any co-op command. And you can ask to the device to reply to you with SMS or UDP with a co-op option called the return pass. So it's standardizing different objects. It's creating a RESTful API on top of Co-op for handling device, server, connectivity monitoring, connectivity statistic, the GPS location of your device, and upgrading the firmware. Every object has an ID, a numerical ID, and the RESTful API looks like that. You have the ID of the device, the object. For example, here it's position, the GPS position. You have an instance, because sometimes you can have multiple instances, like power sources. If you have multiple power sources, like solar panels and batteries, you have different instances. And the last, and if you get on, for example, on 6/0, you will receive a binary record of the whole position object with latitude, longitude, speed, altitude, and quality of the signal of the GPS, I think. Every details. If you get only on 602, you get only the altitude. Yeah, it's very simple. So you have project at Eclipse IoT about lightweight M2M. You have Wakarama. Wakarama is a simple and embedded friendly C library. Well, it's not library. You're not going to do dynamic liking. You are going to put it in your code. It's very good for starting to use lightweight M2M for your devices. This is not an Eclipse project, but it's a project I'm working on. It's using Californium from Eclipse. It's a Java-based lightweight M2M server and library. It's a very simple server for starting to build an application around lightweight M2M or testing your device. So now you know you have an application, you have a protocol for your application, you have hardware and device you want to manage, so you have a device management platform, device management to do. Now, how everything is falling in place. So what you want to do is connect your stuff to the cloud server using MQTT or Co-op, and it's quite easy. But in fact, you need to do device management, and your customer are going to ask you a standard way to do device management. So you have an operating system, an application, you have connectivity, you want to do device management. So you end with two protocols, maybe Home ADM and maybe MQTT or Co-op. But in fact, it's much more complex than that. You have a radio module, which is a processor with a radio stack for connecting to the networks like Wi-Fi, Zigbee, 2G, 3G, LTE. It can be very complex. For example, LTE modem is like a firmware of 20 megabytes. You have an application with running on maybe a different processor, and maybe you have multiple applications. Every application wants to connect to the cloud and speak their protocol or have their connections. And maybe you have multiple processors. For example, in some car, you have a low power processor, which is going to wake up everything when there is a problem like a crash or something like that. And maybe you are not going to connect to one server. Maybe the network operator wants to manage the radio module because he wants to be able to configure exactly how you are going to connect to his network. So it's where you start to have problems. First, device management is not optional because when you go on production, you need to be able to configure and upgrade and do everything about operation. But if you use multiple protocols, well, you have a lot of problems to fix. First, the first one is security. Security is quite a very difficult problem, and every protocol needs to be secure. And in case you want to synchronize between all the different protocols. For example, if you try to update the radio modules while you are updating any other processor, well, you are going to reboot the board and disconnect from the network. So if you do that, there is a good chance you are going to create a lot of troubles on the other part of your application. So everything needs to be synchronized, and you need to know when you can really update and configure everything. So why it's good to have one protocol? Because first, it's not a simple project when you have a lot of devices, like 1 million or 2 million devices. You have security to take in charge. If you have different protocols with different security scheme and different key, and well, you have twice the work to have a good security scheme. And if you have scalability problem, well, if you try to use OMADM and MQTT, you have two protocols difficult for scalability, and it's a good idea to think, oh, I'm going to use the same protocol for application and for device management. So a lot of people are saying that all the protocols are different and specialized, and you need to use the good one for fitting your application. Yes, it's true, but you know there is for MQTT and CoAP are not that different. They try to solve the same problem. Maybe one is better at one problem or another, but it's not that the problem. The problem is more how you're going to build your application, how you are going to secure it, how you are going to make a scalable application. If you have a lot of devices, if you go one way or one or another, if you go XMPP, at some point, for scaling, you will need to go to XMPP server vendors. Same for MQTT. So you need to think about that before. And so that's why I'm trying to push about using CoAP and lightweight M2M, because it's providing an efficient device management solution. It's very simple to use, much more simpler than OMADM and NTR069, which can be very complex. You need to read a lot of different specifications. There is some tricky details. And so that's why NCoAP is a good application protocol like MQTT, but the combination of two is very good. And maybe at some point, MQTT and people using MQTT need to provide a device management on top of MQTT. That's all. Thanks.